Hello there. I am back. Um, Today's video is going to be me basically explaining why I think the MCU sucks and what it needs to do, in my opinion, to evolve. They need to evolve their films. And, I'm just going to be going into why. And, got a bowl packed because it's 420. So, um, so, let, so let's start from the beginning with the MCU. It started with the first Iron Man movie, which I dug. I really do dig the first Iron Man movie. I think personally, it's not as great as some say. Like, a lot of people will put it on the level of, like, a Batman Begins or the first Spider. I don't think it's that good. I think for me, what holds it back is the villain. But I really think it was Robert Downey's charm that kind of carried it. But it didn't have those early, because there's gonna be a point here. Those first few MCU like phase 1 movies just felt so different. They all felt different from each other. The first Iron Man was different from Now We Go Into Incredible Hulk, which was great. And it sucks what happened with Norton because Mark Ruffalo's Hulk sucks, and I'm gonna get to why, and I think why that's gonna be another separate video probably too. Why I think Mark Ruffalo's Hulk is trash. But we'll go into that here too, but I do want to set that aside for its own little section. But like that movie was so good because once again it felt different and it felt like its own thing. Each movie had its own identity. Yeah, like I said, not all of them were great. Some were okay. Like now we get to, I think it was Iron Man 2, which I did not like. I did not like Iron Man 2. But it's still, I actually, something about like visual, I like the way it's shot too. I'll give the thing that in general I prefer the way the phase 1 movies were shot compared to the later ones. It felt like more real. It didn't have that like plasticky, which we'll get to later, feel to it. But Iron Man 2 had a lot of problems. I think nothing really happens in the middle of it. The final fight was cool though. And the big thing with these movies, it sets up, they were teasing the Avengers throughout the film, which that's fine. It was fine in the beginning, and then now we jump to Thor, which was okay. I didn't love it, but the villain kind of sucked. But Thor, you just was mainly made just so you could see Thor in action, which was cool. And then the one movie I actually really did like, a lot of people didn't like it, was the first Captain America. Came out the same year in 2011. It was really good. I honestly dug it. It had its own feel to it. It had like that. It's like the first Iron Man movie to me. They felt like they were not up there with those movies, but in terms of like, it didn't just feel like it was just, oh, this is just an MCU movie. It's in the same lines like the first Spider Man, those first few X-Men movies, those like comic book Marvel movies we got in like the early 2000s that were good. And then Avengers happened. And here's the thing. At the time, I was with people. Oh, Avengers was great. But upon a rewatch, it just doesn't hold up as a story. I think people mainly watch it just to see the heroes come together, and that's, I think, is where the shift started. Because once Avengers happened, the tone just started to feel like, okay, now this is the formula. Jokes, quips here and there. I feel like that is where it started. And then I was hoping once I'm going to jump a little bit to Winter Soldier. I was hoping by Winter Soldier, which by far is best their best movie. I think in terms of filmmaking, that is their best movie. I was hoping that there was going to be a shift. And you can have your jokey films, but if you can every now and then pull out a Winter Soldier and a Guardians, which those were their best movies, in my opinion. And then no, we have to get more of these jokey, quippy movies. And then we get to Age of Ultron, which wasn't good. And now this is where the narrative, I started seeing it kind of, how they waste villains. Ultron in the comics was a fucking monster who beat the Avengers. You can't even do that in the movies. In the movies, he's a joke. And I get it. They changed his origin story because it wasn't Hank Pym who created him. It was Iron Man. It was Tony, which I think maybe they should have just waited on Ultron. And I gave Loki props in Avengers 1, but to be real, he wasn't even the real villain. It was the Chitauri. That they were the real. You could easily take Loki out of it and just the Chitauri wants to attack Earth. The Avengers come together. There you go. You could easily. He stops being a film by the third movie, really. By I mean not third movie, Thor 2, which I'm one of the few that was like I don't love it, but I felt like Thor. That was the last time Thor was Thor. Um, which I'll get to later. Smoke break. But anyway, um, like it just the shift started like Age of Ultron. This is just where it was obvious. Every other scene was a quip. Something kind of serious would happen, quip. And then Nick Fury was wasted. He just came in and just gave a fucking speech. Easily, why didn't you put him in Civil War? I'm gonna get more into that when I talk Civil War. But just overall, and then the final fight was basically the first Avengers movie fight, just with robots now. And it just didn't work for me, man. On a first watch, I was like, okay, this is it has issues, but then I think I watched it again. I'm like, this just isn't good, man. It was all over the place. Why does Hawkeye all of a sudden have a family? I felt like Scarlet Witch was kind of introduced wonky in it. I think she was way better in Civil War than she was in this. But just, it had that problem, man. And then just Ultron was wasted. I thought Vision was cool, though. This was like the only time I thought Vision was cool in the MCU. Because he's wasted. Which I'll get into. There's a lot of characters I feel like are wasted. And the MCU just gets a pass on certain things. And I'm just kind of sick of it. And that's kind of what partially spawned this video. Is we can never criticize the MCU. I mean, look what happened when Martin Scorsese was rightfully calling out those movies. Like, if Martin Scorsese said that Friday the 13th movies are not cinema, I would be cool with that, because I don't think they are. Sorry. Cinema is like, in terms of film, is like high art. Stuff like, in my view, what I would call cinema is like really any Tarantino movie, Goodfellas. And if there are some comic book films out there that are like cinema. I would consider Watchmen cinema, The Dark Knight cinema, Logan. I think Logan is close. Logan is like, those are like the three I would be like, okay, I could call that cinema. But stuff like, sorry guys, fucking Ant-Man and the Wasp is not cinema. But anyway, just now finished with Age of Ultron, and then DC did BVS, and now Civil War, now Marvel's like, let's do Civil War. And at the time, I was like, maybe they couldn't do it right, because Winter Soldier did come out, though I was really disappointed with Age of Ultron. I was like, okay, maybe they can get it right with Civil War. It's a Captain America movie, which, the more I think about it, it is not a Captain America film. It is a glorified Avengers movie. Let's keep it fucking real. It's an Avengers film. It is, and people could try to argue, it's no. It doesn't even end with Captain America. It ends with Tony Stark. But my big issues with Civil War are just this. It was clearly made because BVS happened. I wanted a real Captain America 3. I think they could have waited. They rushed Civil War because they were like, let's just put a bunch of heroes in the movie. And that airport fight on first watch is kind of cool because, Spider-Man and Black Panther are there, but it isn't, guys. It's not even a fight. It's a sparring match. They're holding back. And in the comics, they were like beating the shit out of each other. It felt real in the comic. I understand they couldn't do certain things. They didn't have the X-Men yet, but they could have they should have just waited. I honestly think, had they just waited, and maybe they could have bought the X-Men separately by themselves. I think this was also where Disney fucked up. They didn't need to buy all of Fox. I think they wasted money, and I think it's starting to bite them in the ass, but I digress. But with Civil War, man, it just, the whole Sokovia Accords don't even matter in later movies. They don't. They only matter in that, and it artificially matters. No, that movie. Why is Zemo in it? You didn't need a villain. I've always said I would have preferred if Zemo wasn't in it. His plan was convoluted. It didn't make sense. It relied entirely on fucking convenience. Somehow he got this video, which is also the whole video thing was stupid. There just happened to be a camera that showed perfectly Tony's parents being killed. Okay, and it's from 1991. But let's not make it grainy looking at all. It's just it's 2016 fucking visuals just with black and white filter on it. That's what it looked like to me. They hold on. Oh, gotta spit something out real quick. But that's all it is. It's like it just doesn't make sense. It and also Tony showing up to Sokovia in the end there only happened because Falcon told him where Bucky and Cap were. What if that didn't happen? He wouldn't have showed up. So why he wouldn't have? And to have this, it's just the fight in the end was cool. I actually think that was the only real emotional thing in the movie, even though I never bought them as friends, Iron Man and Cap. At least not in the movies. I know it maybe by by Infinity War and Endgame, but not. Yeah, nah, man. And it was also a joke fest. The tone was all over the place. I would have just, like I've been saying, I would have preferred if they had just waited to do Civil War. And I understand this is a very unpopular opinion. However, a lot of people love that movie, but I'm sorry. I have so much issues with it. I initially was okay with it. I gave it a 7 out of 10 even. It's kind of gone down to like a 6. So I think there's still cool. There are cool parts. I think this is the only time Black Panther was actually cool. And same with Spider-Man. But which that's good. That could be another video how they fucked up Spider-Man in this, which I'll talk a little bit about. But just Civil War was a giant waste. And in my opinion, it doesn't matter in the long run. I've been saying this. It basically was just a fucking part of the assembly line of MCU movies just to get to end Civil War. Not Civil War. To Infinity War and Endgame. That's all it was. It doesn't matter. And that fact that you take a story like that, I think is one of Marvel's biggest comic book storylines, and you make it a giant joke. It wasn't a fucking war. It was a fucking airport fucking. It was just a bunch of heroes fucking play fighting. That's really what it was. Sorry. Oh man. It felt like a bait and switch the more I think about it. But now, I was okay with Doctor Strange, which came out after. I didn't love it. It wasn't perfect. I haven't gone back and watched it. And I think now we're getting to the crux of the problem, too, with the MCU movies. A lot of them I don't have the urge to rewatch. And to me, my standards for a great movie, or even a good movie, I have the urge to rewatch them. If I can watch them over and over and over again. Like it or not, why I love BVS and Man of Steel, I could watch those movies a million times. I could watch Jurassic Park a million times. I can name a bunch of movies that I love. I could watch a million times. T2, etc. But none of the M's, not gonna say none. Like Winter Soldier and Guardians, I could watch a million times. But other than those two, I, I'm gonna say it now. I liked Infinity War, but I think Endgame kind of taints it. I'll get to that more later. I don't know how long this video is gonna be, but all right, smoke break. But now, then Guardians 2, which I really dig. It's not as strong as the first one, but I think Guardians is one of those where I actually think is the only consistent one. And it does a good job of being its own movie. It's not bound by, oh, we got to throw in a bunch of MCU references. And I think this is where it also gets bogged down. If you, like, when I read comics, yes, I didn't read a lot of Avengers, but when they were by themselves, I read like a few Captain America comics. Even when he was in the Avengers, when he's doing his own stuff, that's why I love Winter Soldier. And this was post Avengers. Yes, there's some references. I don't mind one or two. Like even in Justice League comics, when like in a Batman comic, they might reference Superman in some of the Justice League. But when it's their own story, it's their own story. They're not throwing in a bunch of, like when it's an Iron Man story, it's an Iron Man story. Not, oh, it's Iron Man and then the Avengers. I think that's where the MCU started. Especially when you get to the MCU Spider-Man movies, man. Okay, let's get to it. I think Homecoming was such a step down. Because I actually loved him I didn't love, but I liked him in Civil War. So I was like, okay, he's kind of confident and he somewhat has. I don't like that his suit's an Iron Man suit, basically. But for some reason, it's Homecoming. He can't fight. He has troubles fighting robbers, but he can take on Cap and fucking uh, web up fucking Falcon and Winter Soldier, no problem. But for some reason, he has trouble beating up robbers. And what carried that movie was really Michael Keaton, not Holland. I think it's just the way he's written. Those movies, and Far From Home has the same problem. They feel like Disney Channel movies. They're Disney Channel movies just with Spider-Man in it. And it just, the high school scenes suck. I don't like it. Just, you don't have that friendly neighborhood vibe anymore. Uncle Ben doesn't matter. I'm not saying you need to show his death, but you need to show that Uncle Ben is why he became Spider-Man. That's like not even referencing the Waynes, Bruce Wayne's parents when, when he's Batman. Why would you do that? You don't have to show it, but at least have a scene where maybe like Aunt May and Peter talk. And that's the other problem. As much as I love Marissa Tomei and she's fine, don't get me fucking wrong, but she's just there for hot MILF jokes. That's it. That's it. She doesn't have a genuine moment with Peter in either of these fucking movies. You don't give him like none of that, man. There's no consequences. Oh, he gets his cool suit taken away, and then in the end of the fucking movie, he gets another cool one for Infinity War. So it doesn't even matter. And then Ragnarok. Let's get to that. I was okay with it initially, and it was mainly because I kind of enjoyed the Hulk Thor fight, and I thought, okay, maybe Hulk could come back, because I was kind of disappointed with him for a little bit. And then fucking the second or third viewing one is when I'm like, yeah, this has so many issues. You made the story of Ragnarok a joke. Don't explain what happened to Lady Sif. She's just gone. We're not gonna explain what happened to her. Thor's a fucking goof now, and it's because of Chris Hemsworth. He wants Thor to be a goof now. Because he's tired of Thor being super serious. I think because I remember he apparently almost left after Thor 2. And it's bullshit. Thor is not a comedy character. And if you do comedy with him, is how he did it in the first one when he was like drinking a beer, thinking like a mug, and like what he said another, he like smashed it or something. That's what his humor should be. Not, I'm gonna just jump to Endgame real quick with this. He's Fat Thor playing fucking Fortnite. No. And then you're gonna try to tell me that's a serious arc, but he's playing fucking Fortnite. Get the fuck out of here. Man, I just don't like Thor. They make him a joke. And I think Ragnarok is the start of it. Ragnarok is a glorified Guardians movie. I love the Guardians movies, but I don't want my movie, the MCU, to become similar, and that is my big issue overall. Like, by this point, it's obvious. The movies are starting to become formulaic. They are. They're fine to watch on a one watch, but that's it, man. Just, they're all the same. That's why. As much as you could have your issues with DCU, even the bad ones, at least the movies feel different. Man of Steel feels different from BVS, which feels different from Wonder Woman, which feels different from Aquaman, etc. They all feel different. And then you get a Joker. We're never going to get a Joker with the MCU. We're just not. They're never going to do an R-rated, and that's a thing in itself. They're never going to do an R-rated movie. That's why I don't trust them with fucking Moon Knight. Moon Knight's an R-rated character. They're not going to, I don't even give a fuck about their Blade movie, because it's going to be PG fucking 13. I know we're never going to get a Blade movie like the original. Because if you not make it R-rated, I'm not interested. I don't care. Oh, the actors probably will be... No, man. Blade's an R-rated character. You can't. But anyway, going back to Ragnarok. It's the start, There are some good parts, but Thor's a goof. And the way he gets taken out, fucking stupid. He gets shocked with a little shocker thing on his neck. But he's the god of thunder. Okay. That makes fucking sense. I thought the villain was good, though. I think that was like the only good thing about that movie was the villain. Hela was actually solid. She kind of fucks shit up. That's actually one of the few things I like about it. Now we go to Black Panther. I'm grading it as a movie, and I'm happy for people who really like it and, as this cultural phenomenon. But for me, as a movie, it's okay. I gave it a 7 out of 10. I'll keep it at that. I do think he sucks in it, though. The fact that T'Challa just was not interesting and he gets overshadowed by everybody. His sister, definitely Killmonger. It just, and it had some good parts, but the CGI was bad. I think the final fight kind of sucked. I think the duel when they were not even in their costumes was better. And then we get that. It just, I don't know, man. Blade, man. Blade's much better. Just gonna keep it real. But Infinity War. I actually really liked Infinity War. I don't love it like some people. I think I don't like a lot of Spider-Man parts. I think I like some of them, but the alien joke was cringy. He's not Deadpool. Spider-Man's not Deadpool. He should not be making like pop culture references. He's not that. But overall, Infinity War was a bit different. There wasn't a million jokes. I actually kind of like Thanos in it. But the Hulk, the way they did the Hulk, that's where it really started. Well, kind of started becoming noticeable. After he got bodied by Thanos, he becomes a bitch and is like scared to come out. I was hoping for a moment where he's gonna Hulk out of the Hulkbuster suit. Nope. Didn't get that. But Infinity War had a solid ending, and I think had this just been the real ending and Thor came in, but then you had that cringy, like, when Thor came in Wakanda, fucking, what was it, Bruce Banner said something like, y'all gonna get it now, like some cringy fucking clips, like, oh, too many of these moments, man. And then Endgame happened. And I was okay with Endgame initially, but then the second and third viewing, I just started noticing the issues with the time travel. Personally, the portal scene was cool, and then you had that cringy girl power. Let's have all the girls come together, even though they don't fucking know each other. It was done much more naturally in Infinity War, with Lupita's characters, Scarlet Witch, and Black Widow coming together to take on Proxima. That's how they did that great. It was not anything. It was just, oh, they're just happened to come together to fight. With Endgame, it was just they don't even know each other. And then the way they fucking bitched out Peter Parker when Captain Marvel like, we'll take it from here, and then he's like, okay, really? You had to do Spider-Man like that? And then the whole two Thanos thing was stupid. Let's kill off the real Thanos that actually fucked shit up, and then this Thanos from I guess what 2014 came. He didn't fucking. It just didn't feel the same. I actually prefer him with the armor though. I actually love the armor. I think he looked much better in this movie visually, but I didn't like because that scene which was really good. Scarlet Witch torturing Thanos, which that was much better if they want to do that girl power thing. It was done much better. But the problem I had with it though was it doesn't even matter because it's not the Thanos that killed Vision. Which, by the way, let's talk about Vision. Vision was bitched out in Infinity War. I think I would have changed that a bit. At least had him go out fighting. It just seemed like Vision was only cool in Age of Ultron. He didn't really do anything in Civil War besides injure Falcon. And I don't think he did anything else. And he gets bitched out and doesn't even come back in Endgame. So, Vision was just wasted. Like, and he's a cool character in the comics, and I actually think he was cool in his day. Like, he carried Thor's hammer like nothing, fucking beat Ultron's ass, and it doesn't even matter. Same with Bucky. Let's keep it real. Bucky doesn't even matter anymore, and he was such a big deal in Winter Soldier and Civil War. He doesn't even matter now. And then what they did with Cap, I have a problem with. Him going back, I get it. It's for the people who really liked him and Peggy Carter, but it makes Cap look so selfish. It's ultimately why, unpopular opinion, I have a problem with some of what they did with the Reeves film in the end. I didn't mind it at the time, but the more I think about it, let's go back in time just to save one girl. It's kind of selfish. You're going to just stand, like with Cap, I think Cap's a little bit worse though, because he just sat back while all this shit happened just to be with this girl. I'm sorry, it makes Cap look so bad. That's not what a hero should do. You should not just, like, no, man. Honestly, they should have just tried to figure out a way to keep Chris Evans around if Iron Man was gonna die. Which I thought that was handled well. I didn't like that they killed off Black Widow basically in the same way they killed Gamora. The Gamora one was far more emotional. With Black Widow, it just was done to get a death, and she doesn't even get a funeral. And now, when you kill her, I don't care about her movie now. I just have no interest. It looks interesting, but I'm like, if a free copy's out there, I'll watch it, but not seeing it in the theater. I just don't have that interest, man. They should have given her a movie, like, honestly, after Winter Soldier would have been probably the best time. But they waited too long. I have no interest now. And just overall, man, Endgame it's a giant retcon. It's not as bad as Rise of Skywalker, but it really is a giant retcon. With them being in the Avengers fight, I can't look at those movies the same. Even the Cap movies, with what Cap does, I can still watch Winter Soldier, but it's kind of hard to go back and watch those Avengers movies and all that, knowing he's not going to be there. Unless they change things in Doctor Strange too, which I'm going to keep my eye on that. That's like the only new one I kind of care for. I don't care for anything else. Endgame kind of was it, and it just kind of a disappointing ending. Had Civil War just been that, like, not Civil War, Infinity War been that dark ending, Thanos wins, I would love it, but it wasn't, so. Endgame was rushed. The portal scene was cool, but that was about it. Fat Thor sucked. Professor Hulk sucked. Oh my god. Fucking dabbing. People go on about how Zack Snyder ruined Superman, but let's not talk about the Russos ruining the Hulk. I wouldn't really say the Russos ruined Thor, because Thor was kind of starting to get ruined in Ragnarok, to be honest. But definitely in Endgame, though. Russo's, I don't know whose decision that was. Let's do Professor Hulk. But, like, unlike in the comics, Professor Hulk has his moments of fucking hulking out. When he heard Black Widow died, he should have had that Hulk out moment. Especially when they did, even though it made no sense, that whole relationship thing with them. They should have at least, if they were going to do it, keep it canon, have him fucking Hulk out and go for real, and at least let him have his one quick moment against Thanos. Thanos can body him again for all I care, but let Hulk have his moment. You cannot ruin the Hulk. When I was a kid, it was, in terms of Marvel, the rankings were the X-Men and Spider-Man first, the X-Men, then the Hulk. In terms of popularity, you know, even though I didn't love that Hulk 2003 movie, Hulk felt like a big deal still. He was such a big deal character. He had a bunch of games even. But then for some fucking reason, and he was so awesome in the Incredible Hulk movie, and then it's a fucking just downward turn. He was cool in the first Avengers, but then he kind of sucked for a bit. Then he was kind of cool in Ragnarok, and then he goes back to being a bitch in the last two movies. I don't care about the Hulk now. That is bullshit, what they did to the Hulk. Just all around, man. They cared more about making their formula. Their movies need to evolve. I want to start seeing, like, man, if they had the nuts to just be like, okay, we're going to do an R-rated Daredevil movie, I would be down for that. But they're not. I know they're not. It's weird. Joker showed you can hit $1 billion with an R-rated movie. And Marvel doing it, they could easily get that. But no, they don't want to do that. They don't want to take risks, man. They want to stick to their fucking... It sucks, because I was hoping Winter Soldier would be that shift. No. Nah, man. I don't even think we're gonna get another Winter Soldier. No, great. Like, it just... They're not, man. It seems like with Marvel content, I'm only going to have to worry about Sony. Because Sony's doing stuff like Morbius, and if Venom 2 is R-rated, or even if it's like a dark PG-13, I'll even accept. If they're willing to take chances with their movies. It sucks Fox is gone, because, man, if those X-Men movies are still around, I'd be hyped for Deadpool 3. I don't know if Disney's going to somehow Disney-fy it, even with it potentially being R-rated. I just don't trust the MCU right now. It just seems like they care more about, and then Far From Home was a disappointment. They ruined another villain in Mysterio. Oh, he's tied to Tony. Spider-Man can't even have his own villains. I was fine with it with Vulture, but when they did it with fucking um Mysterio, I rolled my eyes, man. I can't stand it. He's not a fucking sidekick. Let him have his own villains, man. God, it just I want the MCU to be better because I love Marvel. I do, but man, it just seems like they're gonna just stick to their formulaic movies, and I don't know if I can take it anymore with those. Because Endgame kind of ended it anyway. Endgame was, as much as I have issues with that movie did feel like an end. I don't care about anything now. I'll see how they do the X-Men, because I'm an X-Men fan. Other than that, I don't care about the shows. I don't care for Falcon and Winter Soldier. No, it just, I know we're not going to get any different content. I want them to, but I just, with Disney being the owner of them, nah, man. So, I just want to get that off my chest and just go into why I think Marvel's kind of started to suck now. And, I don't, MC fanboys, crazy ones, sorry, you know, I want to love the MCU, but just kind of accept that not everyone loves it. Not, I don't hate them, and I think they're fine to exist, and I do give them credit for the success they have. But in terms of fucking content, I don't care about money like that. It's not there anymore. So I just want to get that off my chest. My Halloween replaced. I had to delete that because I kind of feel like I want to do another one of that anyway. So I'll redo it tomorrow, and then probably later this week it's gonna be. I'll do a Superman video. So see you guys next time. Talk to you guys later. Peace.